Welcome to the podcast, Living by Oak Values. My name is Robert, and I host this podcast with my friend Gary. Join us today as we dive deep and share meaningful stories and discuss the values that help shape our lives. We will explore how we use these values to guide us through our lives, influencing our decisions, relationships, and raising our kids. We are embracing a journey of personal growth and navigating our own path. We are devoted to living by these values and passing them on to our children. We are thrilled to have you here today and can't wait to share our latest episode. Whether you're a longtime listener or just now discovering us, welcome. Join our Facebook community, Northman Legacy Crew. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments and let us know what topics you're most interested in hearing about. Check us out at northmancoaching.com. Sign up with your emails for behind the scenes, sneak peeks, and exciting updates. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Happy listening. All right. And this week we mark a very special milestone, 25th episode.
So this episode is going to be different because we're talking about faking it till you make it. It's a phrase that I use on a regular basis, but I also tell everybody that I'm authentic. So I want to clarify what fake it till you make it means to me.
And I'm going to start out with the fake it till you make it originated as a motivational saying that encourages people to project confidence, competence, and certain attitudes, even if they don't fully feel it internally. It is more of a self-motivation kind of thing.
So when I say fake it till you make it, I'm talking about me faking it to myself. So that I feel more confident and more competent in what I'm doing. Even if I'm just beginning, I will tell you I'm just a beginner, but I will tell myself that I have all of this, the skill set that I need to succeed. And that fakes my mind, I guess is the best way of putting it, into thinking that I can do this. And it usually works out in my favor that I can do whatever I want because I can fake it till I make it.
The way I understand it, and get me if I'm wrong, is it's helping you rewrite the stories in your head that you're not worthy enough.
Absolutely. Yes.
And there's a lot of books that in order to overcome that worthiness, you just have to sit there and psych yourself out to say that you are worthy enough.
Yes. But also, so the stories in your head, and I had a discussion with this not too long ago with somebody about your brain makes up these stories to protect you. Chances are none of these stories are real, accurate, or anything, but they psych you into not stepping out of your comfort zone in order to protect you. By faking it till you make it, I try to drop that guard so my brain has a new story that tells my brain that I am already competent. I'm already confident. So now my brain doesn't have the need to protect me from failure because it thinks I'm already confident and competent in what I'm doing. It comes down to just a mindset shift.
Yeah.
And it could be different for many people, but for me personally, to lie to myself, to shift that mindset, it makes it so much easier.
So where have you used it most in your life?
I recently, right here in the podcast. So when we first started this podcast 25 episodes ago, I had almost zero confidence that we could do this because there are so many podcasts out there, so many people that were probably better than us, but I had to get past that. So I decided that I was going to, dress to impress or dress for the interview. I was going to fake it until I make it. That doesn't mean I'm going to tell somebody else that I can do this or that I have been doing this or that this is what I have. It was a story for me so that I felt more confident and more competent in what I was doing. And that helped me with my confidence in discussing, all the values and the bullet points and getting in depth with all the values and what they meant.
So why were you not confident in yourself to begin with?
I would say stepping out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to say I was leaping very far out of my comfort zone. And I want people that have listened to our podcast, and especially this one, telling somebody else that you have done whatever and it's not true. That is not fake it till you make it. That is lying. And if you lie, then that's inauthentic.
Yeah, it's definitely not being authentic because relying too heavily on like confidence
Mm-hmm.
and almost create like an imposter syndrome. And that imposter syndrome intensifies the longer you do it sometimes. And then deep down inside, you'll be going, what if I'm found out for not being competent enough on this subject? How did you overcome that?
When I was faking it till I make it, that when I would tell myself that I'm good at this, I can do this, that was me silencing the imposter.
Mm-hmm.
So my brain was saying, you can't do a podcast. You talk too fast. You're from the north. You mumble. So many more people know more about this topic than you do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be. You're not a podcaster. You're not even a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
But by telling myself, and obviously with the life coaching, going to getting a certification and whatnot, but by telling myself that I can do this, and I have done it, and I will do it, and I will be good, that was silencing the imposter within me. When we climbed Mount Washington together, which I probably should have done some reverse because Mount Washington is like a pebble hill compared to Kilimanjaro.
That was a much harder climb.
I had no problems climbing Mount Washington until we got to the top part where it was all rock. And then I had to tell myself, I'm going to make this. I will get to the top. Even though those rocks killed me. My knee was shot. Everything hurt.
It was
and
horrible.
I could have so easily just given up.
Yes.
But I mean, one of the biggest things that I said that I faked it till I made it for myself was that I, number one, wanted to get to the top. Number two, I wanted to tell everybody that I made it to the top. And I could, if I didn't make it, I had two choices. I could go home a failure, or I can go home a liar and tell everybody that I did make it. I don't want to be a failure. I want to clarify there's nothing wrong with failing. Failing is just a stepping stone towards success. But I didn't want to be a failure on that mountain. Because number one, I'm never doing that mountain again. But discuss that I consider myself to be very authentic. And I wasn't going to go home and be like, yeah, I made it to the top. So I faked it until I made it. But not to everybody that was there. I didn't tell you or Dennis or Charlie or anybody that, oh, I've done this before. I got this. No, I told myself, I know my knee hurts. I know my feet are bleeding and covered in blisters. But I am going to make this. And because I told myself that, I made it.
I had to fake it till I make it until I became the benevolent person I wanted to be. Because I kept failing at it sometimes. And every day I had to wake up and say, well, today you get to try again. And today you get to try again. It wasn't that I was saying I was perfectly benevolent today, but I was going to work at being benevolent today. And it helped because it kept me from having unrealistic expectations. So that I didn't think that, oh, if I wasn't benevolent today, I was a failure if I didn't become a benevolent person today.
Okay.
And it just led to potential growth instead of just every day going, shit, I failed today.
Or saying you're not benevolent.
Or saying I'm not benevolent. Yes.
Just throw your hands up. You're not benevolent.
Yeah. I screwed up today. I'm not benevolent today. But each one of the values in this box that we're talking about, you have to practice it that way almost. Unless you've already ingrained it in your soul.
You're starting from scratch and you're building something within you. You have to create that habit. But part of creating that habit is telling yourself that you can do it.
Yep.
So, and if you really actually, now that I'm talking about this, if you really want to get back to where I think I started the fake it till you make it thing, it was boot camp. I was in the military. I did not know that I was going to make it through boot camp. I had several scares in boot camp about not making it. There were incidences where I got set back a little bit. Same fear I had on the mountain. I didn't want to go home a failure. So I faked it until I made it. So do you know what I'm talking about with the whole the inner voice?
No, explain that to me. I mean, I know I have an inner voice.
Do you not have an inner voice?
Yeah, I have an inner voice. It tells me a lot of times, don't do something. And I have to say, it's okay, Robert. It's okay, Robert. You can do it. You can do it. I don't use the terminology, fake it till you make it, but I understand what you mean, where you have to, you do it with as much confidence as you act as if you're doing it right.
When that voice tells you can't do it, what do you say to the voice?
Normally, I just say, stay quiet, stay quiet. I got this. I got this. Just be patient, kind of deal.
Okay. So now you're sitting here. Now you're talking to yourself.
Yeah, I do talk to myself a lot, actually.
So what if you name that voice?
What do you mean?
Give the voice a name. Make that voice my voice. So every time you think you can't do something, you hear me telling you that. So it's
I
not
can't
you.
deal with you in my head, man. You're a little too much for me.
But if you give that voice a name, then it's no longer you.
Give me an example. I don't quite get you.
Cynical Sid.
Whoa.
Or Debbie Downer, or Tough Tim, or whatever. I don't know, something easy and catchy. Mm-hmm. So when Cynical Sid says, Rob, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you can turn around to Cynical Sid and you can tell him to shut up. So by naming your inner voice of self-doubt, it's a powerful tool, and it helps you reframe negative thoughts. And by giving it a name, you're gonna kind of separate the voice from you. Does that make sense?
I kind of do that, but I don't give it a name. And I kind of like Cynical Sid. I like that. That would work out because it is more cynical sometimes. Can't do this, and etc. etc. So yeah, I like that. Cynical Sid.
You can name it whatever you want. You can name it Bob. Whatever you have to do to remember the name and to actually call that voice that name to separate it from you.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. It's called a bell.
Why don't you tell the listeners what you were doing a month ago?
And
before you get there, I'm gonna tell you that you probably had to fake it till you make it a little bit on your way up.
Yes,
I'm sure you had that inner voice, and he was probably screaming at you. He wasn't talking.
He was. I didn't call him Cynical Sid, that's for sure. But
well, you didn't name him until today.
Yeah. But I had a lot of fears going up that mountain.
Well, what mountain was it?
Mount Kilimanjaro. It was a long hike. More than fake it till you make it. It was more
embracing the suck.
It was more embracing the suck. And I'm trying to think of a quote. How about Richard Branson? If somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, but you are not sure that you can do it, say yes and then learn how to do it later. And that was why I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Right there. Somebody offered me an opportunity. And I was like, there's no way in the beep I would ever do this in my life. Why not do it now? And so I said yes. And then I had to learn how to climb the mountain.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
And if you actually look at his quote, that goes in line with the mountain that you're just on. It goes in a line. It aligns with the podcast and the coaching. We had an opportunity, and we said yes. We weren't sure how to do it exactly, but we said yes, and we learned. And every day we're learning. I mean, it's funny because a friend of mine just listened to all the podcast episodes backwards. And I think that's the only way to listen to them all. Because if you go back to episode 1, it's not that good, in my opinion. Like I was not happy with my voice. The structure was a little different than it is now. Actually, I think it was a lot different. Mm-hmm. Because every episode, every day, we're learning, we're getting better. But if we had just day 1 said, we don't know what we're doing, we can't do this, then we would have 1 episode under our belt and it would suck.
Yep.
But we took the opportunity to say yes, to learn and grow.
I think it was Michael Jordan who said, you have to expect things for yourself before you can do them. And I took on that task of, yes, I'm going to go to Kilimanjaro, but I was like, man, I better prepare because who knows what's coming. I did not have a clue what I was got myself into. So I tried to prep as best I could, walking every day, way more than I normally walk, carrying the backpack around on my back with 40 pounds, trying to research the climate. I mean, because I'm from the South, we don't get 19 degrees. So I was like, wow, I'm going to freeze to death.
You're going to get it this year.
Yeah, dude, it's just one of those things. It's like when you start hearing like below freezing temperatures in the South, you freak out. That inner voice was screaming at me, going, you better back out because this is dangerous." And I was like, "No, I have to do this."
So you silenced the inner voice and you made it to the top.
Yeah.
So, but I really want to know. So all of the walking with the backpack on, I have to imagine that you could have walked 50 miles a day with 50 pounds on your back, and it still would not have prepared you for what you were going to face.
Correct.
I mean, you were at 19,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah, I did get altitude sickness.
Yes. That's 3 times Mount Washington.
And that was one of my biggest fears, is getting up there, because I'm like, I've never been that high in my life besides an airplane. That's one of those things that you just don't know until you get there before you're going to get sick.
And how was the air? I heard it's like really thin up there. Yes? No?
You wanted me to measure it? I didn't have any tools. I didn't have tools to measure it, man. I was already more worried about just getting there alive than I was anything. Well, my belly swelled up and I had headaches really bad. Part of altitude sickness. So you feel,
but it was hard to breathe, right? Was it not?
I didn't have necessarily a hard time breathing. Oh. No.
So I will go ahead and read the quote we have. It just didn't go along with it, but by Amy Cuddy, and it's "Don't fake it till you make it. Fake it till you become it." And I like that a lot because it's still the same to me. Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you become it. Because I had to, for the podcast, I had to tell myself that I was confident and I was competent and I could do this. Now I am. So I fake it until I became it, I guess.
You fake it till you became it. So where else in your life are you faking it at the moment until you become it? So
my fake it till you make it, or embracing not really embracing the suck, but faking till you making it is this podcast. You know, we just hit 25 episodes. Do you know what percentage of people or podcasts make it to 25 episodes?
No.
Roughly 20%?
Yeah.
That's still not a whole lot. So, but we got this far. Gotten this far with you because I had to put that confidence and that competence in me by telling that voice that I can do this. I have done this, even though I haven't. Now I have, but then I haven't. Well, are you faking it till you make it anywhere?
I just got done faking it, man. I don't want to. I got to get my legs back under me.
Tell me what that would have looked like if you had not faked it until you made it on that mountain. How many times were you on the verge of giving up? How many times did that thought cross your mind?
To give up?
Yeah.
Half a dozen maybe. But it wasn't enough to make me give up.
So anyway, some of the reasons that we fake it till we make it is, number 1, we discussed, was mindset shift. Number 2 is behavioral changes. Number 3, and it's a big one, I think, in my opinion, is building the confidence that you need. The last thing is caution, because you want to be cautious about how you're faking it till you make it, because you don't want to lose your authenticity. So it has to stay within you. That's the biggest part of faking it till you make it. That is something that's between you, and that's it.
And so if you were talking to a listener and they said, well, Gary, is faking it till you make it really being authentic?
It depends on the context of how you're using it. If I am telling myself that I have done it or can do it and it's not a problem, that all I'm doing is silencing that inner voice. It's traditionally called fake it till you make it, but people have also called it, stepping into the role. Or now, if a listener told me, that they had done all of this stuff that they'd never really done, so that I don't know, would go do it with them or whatever, or be impressed with them, then that is not being authentic. But as far as being authentic to yourself, that's a tough one, because I mean, technically, you are kind of lying to yourself, but it's there. You're doing it to silence that voice. So it's kind of like you owe it to yourself to step out of that comfort zone, silence that voice, reframe your thinking, and become the person that you want to become.
When you fake it till you make it, are you doing it in hopes that you are looking to grow in an area of your life?
Partially, yes. But the main reason that I fake it till I make it is to silence the inner voice or the inner critic or the imposter, whatever you want to call them. That voice that's in your head that says, you can't do this. You're not cut out for this. Someone's better than you. So just go home and sit down. Sit down and shut up. That's my main focus or reason behind fake it till you make it is to silence that voice so that I feel confident and competent. And that right there is growing because now I'm competent. Now I'm confident. I had to tell myself I was, and I wasn't. Now I am. So yes, it is growth.
So have you ever been at a job where they hired somebody who faked it on their application until they tried to make it at work?
Yes, but that is not fake it till you make it within you. That's lying. So like I said, this between me and me, I tell myself that I can do this. I can host a podcast. You told yourself that you can climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but did you tell your girlfriend that you could climb Mount Kilimanjaro before you did it?
No.
When we started this podcast, did I say, hey, Rob, I got this. I've been doing podcasts for the last 10 years. I got this. Any questions? I got this.
No.
Because that would be lying. That would be faking it to everybody. I only fake it to me. So, yeah. So someone that lies on an application to get a job and then fakes it all the way to the paycheck to make it, to get the raise eventually, that's lying. What you did on that mountain and what I've been doing. So are you laughing at me?
Dude, you really like talking about my mountain, don't you?
I do, because that's a huge accomplishment, dude. I'm so proud of you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you practiced or you worked up to it, but how did you work up to it? By walking every day?
I did, yeah.
Did you ever get to 19,000 feet? No.
No.
Have you ever breathed air that thin?
No.
So how did you really train? All you did was work your muscles, work your legs, get your stamina up, but you've never experienced that thin air.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to talk about. So I recommended a book to you, and when I read this book, it helped me a lot, and I think it can help anybody. But so the book is "Embrace the Suck" by Brent Gleason, and a lot of it, it talks about Navy SEAL training, and I know. So I was in the Navy, definitely not a Navy SEAL. I want to repeat that, definitely not a Navy SEAL. I don't want anybody thinking that I said I was when I'm not, but I know how hard that training is.
Yeah,
and I don't quote me on the numbers, but I feel like 80% fail. Or even more, maybe? I'm not even sure. So I know that those guys have got to be faking it till they make it.
Yeah.
In fact, he was talking in here about, he was in Hell Week, which is the week you graduate. And I think he said his ankle might have been broken. And his shoulder was broken.
Yeah.
And his knee was skinned to the bone.
Mm-hmm.
So not a cut, not a scrape. His bone is hanging out of his knee. And he's still pushing forward to graduate, and he does.
Yeah.
Hope I didn't ruin the book for anybody, but there's no other explanation except fake it till you make it.
It was a very good book.
Yeah.
I am so happy you recommended to me that.
And going back to mindset, like that fake it till you make it in that situation when your bones are hanging out of your body, that you're shifting that mindset. You are trying your best to get that pain out of your head.
Yes.
And focus on something else. And I cry over a paper cut. I don't know how this guy did it. One more thing. We have the quote by Bo Bennett. Who is Bo Bennett? I don't know who that even is. But he said, fake it till you make it. Act as if you had all of the confidence you require until it becomes your reality. And that sums it up right there also. That's exactly what I did in boot camp and with the podcast and even with life coaching. I remember. Do you remember when we did the certification? We had to coach each other.
Yes.
And that's awkward. I thought it was awkward. And then when we were done with the class for one day, we had to, coach someone else in our life. Like sister, brother, girlfriend, mom, dad, whatever.
It was two other people. Yeah.
What was two other people?
We coached two other people. Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, you were coaching a coach or a soon-to-be coach. So it's not like you were coaching a real client. So it was difficult. I faked it until it became my reality.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think I can coach almost anybody.
Awesome. If you would like to go further or deeper on this topic, reach out to us. We want to know you and hear your powerful story. Chat or connect with us by booking your free session on our website, northmancoaching.com. And folks, that's a wrap on today's episode. And of course, thank you all out there for listening. We are so glad you could join us today. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Living by Oak Values. And if you feel generous, leave us a review. It really helps us out and keeps these conversations going. For more updates and exclusive content, join our Facebook group, Northman Legacy Crew. Follow us on YouTube and TikTok, or visit our website, northmancoaching.com. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode that you don't want to miss. Until then, keep discussing your values, embrace the journey, take care, and stay authentic.